Back. Welcome back. Welcome back to this fabulous Soulful Afro show on Día Internacional de la Mujer, International Women's Day. And what today is about is not about celebrating women. One of the themes of today, as it relates to what we're asking for, is to not celebrate us, not congratulate us, but stand with us and fight with us. It's also about acknowledging all the steps made by women and also to demand some of the changes that are needed to celebrate the determination and the footsteps made by women over the years. And one of the things that's happening this today is actually between 2:30 and 5 o'clock. There is a march for women in New York, planned by the UN Women, because this week is the conference on the status of women and girls, which I will be attending. I'll be leaving on Wednesday, and I'll be presenting on Saturday in New York City. So this week it's about today, but it's about the inequality that still exists. You know, we're still hearing that women get paid less than men. We're still hearing that women are not able to get into certain positions as men do. So there is still a lot to be done. There's still an issue of education. As we know, the Nigerian girls, most of them are still missing. And one of the things about that issue was that they were ripped of their education. They were taken out of a school, and only a few of them that have escaped have been able to return back to school. So they are going against what was being asked of them not to do, which was to get an education and continue to fight. So, if you have a woman around you that has been doing some fabulous job, today is your day to support her and stand with her and let her know that you are there no matter what. It's not even about, you all come from a woman, you're made from a woman, like, Tupac said, you came from a woman and made from a woman. So today it's about acknowledging that woman. My next topic, which is just, one of the things that came out this week on Wednesday. The DOJ, Department of Justice, came out with their report about the Ferguson Police Department. The Ferguson Police Department is the police department that Darren Wilson is from, that shot and killed Michael Brown and was not found guilty. And what came out of the report is that there's racial disparities was so stark, that it concluded in the report, the Ferguson Police Department was routinely violating constitutional rights of its black residents, like constant. So then you hear this and you're like, how did we not find that Darren Wilson was acting, from that position? The report, based on 6 months investigation, profiles a glimpse into the roots of the racial tensions that boiled over in Ferguson last summer after Michael Brown was killed. The report speaks of a city where the police use force almost exclusively on blacks and regularly stop people without probable cause. Racial bias is so ingrained, the report said, that Ferguson officials circulated racist jokes on their government emails. Listen to one of the jokes. You ready? In November of 2008, an email by a city official said Barack Obama would not be president long because what black man holds a steady job for 4 years? And this is from an official. Another email included a cartoon depicting African Americans as monkeys. A third described black women having abortions as a way to curb crime. Wow. That's deep. That's not sugarcoating. That's not hearsay. That was found in the report, and in the emails. Ferguson population is 67% black. Vehicle stops, 85% black. Arrests 93% black. Use of force 88% black. Cases with warrants 92% black. Jailed more than 2 days 95% black. So when President Obama yesterday in his speech around Selma, I want to read some of what he said. I mean, he's basically saying that the report is just highlighting what we know, but there has been improvement since Selma, but we cannot ignore, you know, and like he said, we don't need the Ferguson report to know that that's not true. We just need to open our eyes and ears and hearts to know that this nation's racial history still casts its long shadow upon us. We know the march is not yet over, the race is not yet won, and that reaching that blessed destination where we are judged by the content of our character requires admitting as much. So what were your thoughts on as you listen to this, Hassan? What are you thinking?
Well, a couple of things came to my mind. I mean, like I said, when we started talking about this, because we've been doing a great job with this topic, was the fact that it's unsettling to know that we know this is what the situation is. Well, what was more unsettling was, the comments from people saying, no, it doesn't exist, this is not true, this is just an isolated, isolated situation, things like that. And then it happened again, and it happened again, and it happened again. And now to get a report that government officials did, and they found this, is very, very troubling. Because it's just like the saying says, you want to keep your friends close, but you want to keep your enemies closer. Because these are the individuals that are being paid by a tax dollar to protect us, and it's not being done. And you have, I know you're concerned about your nephews. I have a son. You have these individuals who get up and go to school or go to work just hoping there's a better America. But then these individuals out there are doing this.
Yeah, because when you hear about the arrest and the warrants, so even if you're not doing anything, if you are intended to arrest and harass because you have a bias, then no one is safe.
Right, exactly.
No one is safe. No one who fits the bill of the people they have bias towards is safe, because their comments were even around the president, women, men, so they didn't stop at anybody. They were very clear. What's interesting about the timing of Selma yesterday, the report came out on Wednesday. Last week before last, also marked 3 years since Trayvon Martin. His birthday was also in February, and then 3 years since he was killed. So, we think that the Ferguson report kicks off Michael Brown, but the Ferguson reports also highlights the issue of Trayvon Martin.
And then the day before the march, somebody else got killed.
Exactly, in Wisconsin. A 19-year-old. So we're dealing with that. And we're dealing with the DOJ came back that that the higher courts came back last week or 2 weeks ago that George Zimmerman was not going to be charged. Yet George Zimmerman has been in trouble constantly since he has been out for violent acts. So, and this is the same man that we believed a 16-year-old could beat up. Yet, he's been arrested for threatening and domestic violence, but this is the same man that we think Trayvon Martin beat up, and he had to defend himself and pulled out the gun on him. So, it makes you think of what disparities about that stand your ground in that police department, because this is also the same police department with Erica Alexander, the black woman who was about to serve an enormous amount of time for just shooting a gun up in the air, defending herself. So those are some of the things that I think the Soulful Afro family needs to start paying attention to.
Can I add something before you continue? The face of this was a black man, the sheriff.
Yeah.
Now, how does he feel if he was the one that's, this was his job?
Well, he came in after to pull it together, but because he came from another town to come and help the folks in Ferguson, and he wasn't even received that well. So it'll be interesting. What came out by Friday is that basically the Ferguson Police Department is gonna be dismissed.
Really?
Like they're gonna have to get
Oh no.
an entire new police department because this police department that's
It's
there
tainted.
now cannot
No, there's no way to
serve
serve the
the
public.
people.
There's no way.
They cannot serve the people. Also, this week was the anniversary of the assassination of Malcolm X. And I mean, how amazing is this that this is all
come together.
sort of back to back to back to back to back to back.
Right.
And some of the things that Malcolm said as it relates to even Malcolm and Martin Luther King said are still present today. There was an article in The Root that said they had a note from Coretta Scott King. And this is Coretta Scott King's word. Perhaps most important, Scott King said that she believed that Malcolm X would have been a tremendous bridge and that he and King would eventually have been unified in purpose. I think if he had lived, if the two had lived, I am sure that at some point they would have come closer together and would have been a very strong force in the total struggle for liberation and self-determination of Black people in our society. And it goes on to say that moment is now. And the moment is now. The fact that Malcolm's word still stands, the fact that Selma still has, I marched after Trayvon Martin, I marched after Michael Brown, and I marched after Eric Gardner. So we're still marching.
We're still marching. And what you just said about Malcolm X, the anniversary, I've been thinking about this for the past few days now. You have two individuals. You have a peaceful Martin Luther King and someone that's promoting violence.
At one point he was.
But what would have happened if we, as that generation and as people, decided to go Malcolm X's way? And,
well, a lot of people did.
And not go peaceful.
A lot of people did. I mean, when he said by any means necessary, there were people that were saying, yeah, by any means necessary. And people saw that statement as a violent statement. Right. To me, sometimes, yeah, by any means necessary. I do feel that way sometimes.
And at the end of the day, they both died.
Exactly. They were
peaceful,
both
or non-peaceful. You still had to go.
And Malcolm made a massive shift after he went to Mecca and came back. Not only how he saw the Nation of Islam, but how he saw whites and how he saw the issues of Blacks. Right. So they were, and then Martin Luther King almost at his end was starting to speak up around militarism and materialism. So they were both almost ending up on the same track in very many ways, even though they portrayed Martin as the calm one and Malcolm as the, like the violent one. But I think both men were almost heading in the same direction as before they got killed. And then we have the Selma movie that came out, didn't get the nominations that we thought it should have gotten, but did win the best song. So culture always wins, but it should have won something. And there was an email that came out that basically said that it didn't get nominated because it wasn't good.
It's not going to get nominated because they're not ready. They were ready for a 12-year slave, but they're not ready for something else.
Because this is too close to home.
Yeah, it's right here.
Selma is too close to home.
Yeah.
Selma is not something that happened a while ago. Selma is still happening.
50 years.
Exactly.
And
Selma is
people are still living.
Exactly. And Selma is still happening today. Right. Because Hollywood still doesn't have the diversity within, this year was the least amount of diversity in the nominations. So Hollywood needs to take a look at itself. So let's take a break. And we'll be right back. And, I want to talk a little bit about why people won't leave Black women's hair alone a little bit. And then we're going to get ready to bring our Spanish segment in, and I will be speaking to Chandray Esteves directly from the Dominican Republic. Can we give a little another song just to keep dancing?
Okay. Oh, I want to stop. Yeah, we can do that because they don't play on the radio for the video stuff.